I was a little bit concerned because obviously the series started at Christmas, really, and they'd all got back from South Africa, and then she'd returned and found out that her position, she was demoted.
Yes.
And it broke my heart for her, because this sort of position that she'd held for such a long time and such self-esteem, now Sister Ursula was in there.
Yes, it's a funny one, because clearly, you know, she's not the Mother Superior. She is a sister in charge there, and the Mother House have to say what happens, and she has to accept that entirely. And being Sister Julienne has to work out what one does with that in a positive way. Personally, I found it really difficult to move out of my office because it was a very nice space.
But that was like a little
which I would go into.
sanctuary for you, the office,
Well, it's a sanctuary. It also provides a huge amount of backdrop, which is that, you know, I'm surrounded by bits and pieces of mail, I'm surrounded by the art pieces because she likes painting in her spare time. Everything about the character is in there. So suddenly, devoid of that, it was actually really quite difficult. And it's a little place to go to. As you say, a little sanctuary that I would go
Tuck yourself away.
Tuck myself away.
And you say that when you're getting ready to play her, it's the shoes that are the key. Put the shoes on and she's there.
Indeed.
Not those.
What would she think of these shoes? These are
This is not something she would wear. No, there is something about putting on, you know, you put on the wimple, you put on the habit, but the shoes really affect kind of the way you walk and the way you feel about yourself.
And this is, so in 1960s now, and it's not so much a period drama for you anymore. I mean, this is a little bit of a trip down memory lane, because you're a teenager then.
In the 60s, yes, I was... I remember, you know, the Beatles, I remember the music of the time, I remember op art and wonderful fashions, and for me it was, as a young girl, it was this brave new world. It was really exciting. But, of course, for Sister Julienne, one's looking at it in a completely different way, because someone who's been through 2 world wars comes to it with all of that knowledge of, you know, what happens, you know, the ups and downs, the extraordinary times that one can have, and the fact that one can go backwards. And she's obviously in a huge amount of commitment from the community to one another, which you have in times of great fear and stress, like during the war. And now it seems to be a time of very much people, their rights, you know, what they want, what they can have. So
well, you've done work, you did workers' rights, I think, it was a week or so ago, I think.
Yes,
indeed. And so important, because in that case they were not getting what they deserved, and that's in the early 60s.
But also, the biggest change for her as a midwife, I imagine, would be the pill.
Well, it will affect birth control some, but it's interesting that really happened some way down the line. But the early pill did create all sorts of problems. I mean, it was not completely worked out, and there were lots of issues with it. So one looks at that. I mean, both the, you know, 2 sides of it, both what it was doing medically and for Sister Julienne, what that means in terms of the choice that a woman has.
For you, I mean, do you maybe think, please don't do the decades quite so quickly? Because I'd like, it was like
Downton. In life, the decades go by quickly.
No. In Call the Midwife, because in Downton, I thought, slow it down. Let's spend more time here.
We go year by year.
I know, but then that means that it's limited.
Well, except in as much as there will be certainly at some point the community may not have a place, but certainly the wonderful thing about doing year by year is that you really see how the issues, you know, social issues come up, and we're always going to be the same distance from it.
Yes, that's true.
So always historically looking at those things and thinking that we've moved on a lot, and actually realising many times that, you know, in terms of the way we attitudes have not changed that much.
And you've been there right from the beginning, those very, very early days. Now that you're... when the storyline that happened recently where she was sort of slightly demoted, people were a little bit concerned that you may be leaving.
Well, yes, it was that when she was put out of her office, the news kind of went round that I was not in my place any longer, and I think people thought that was actually something to do with Sister Julienne coming out.
Which is not the case
but it's not the case at all.
Well, those of us who know what you secretly harbour the desires to do, and is it true that you'd quite like to do a little bit of Bond?
Well, I mean, it would certainly be a nice comparison to the nun, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
there's something lovely about playing that character, but you know, it is quite hard playing someone who's relentlessly good, really.
Yeah.
You know, and it's rather nice to have more subtlety, rather like the Tessa character in MI5 and the Bond one.
Yeah, but also, I mean, for you, it's not as if you haven't dipped your toe in that, because you've been in the Avengers movies, you know, sort of that sort of Captain America.
Yes,
that's certainly
exactly.
a lovely
Beating up
bit of
Robert
something.
Redford and stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
something different to do.
Yeah, lovely to have that change.
Yes.
To have that variety,
yes.
I
But
guess.
the stilettos on as opposed to the...
Yes, you really want to do this.
I want to do it.
You'd be great in it.